In today's class, I'm going to review angles outside the circles, circumscribed angle theorem, and inscribed angle theorem. So, please see that measure of angle 1, first theorem says that here, measure of angle 1, this one, okay, that is equals to, measure of angle 1 equals to half the measure of arc AB. So this is half the measure of arc AB. Okay, so you may remember this way, measure of angle equals to half the measure of arc. And the next one is if you take measure of ADB, that means this part. Okay, so this is a measure of angle formed equals to half the measure of arc AB. So this is half the measure of arc. Okay. So these two seems to be little similar, right? Now let's take the other theorems too. In this theorem, measure of angle 1. So let me take that this is the measure of angle 1 equals to half the measure of DC. First of all, if I were you, this is how I think. Measure of angle 1 means angle 1 is made by two line segments or arcs. Sorry, two chords. Line segments or chords. So this area I'm taking. In fact, you know that vertically opposite angles are equal. So whether angle 1 is given, say the opposite angle, it represents the same. Therefore, this arc is associated with angle 1 and this arc is associated with angle 1. Right? Suppose if you are asked to compute what is the measure of angle 2 means, then what we have to do is we have to think differently. We have to think that, oh, measure of angle 2. Therefore, here is angle 2, Therefore, this is the arc associated. And even the other side also I'm taking. So we have to consider these arcs, right? So anyhow, in the given question, let's say that angle 1, you're asked to think of angle 1. Therefore, let me take that this is the area associated with angle 1, right? So this way you can think. Therefore, I have to consider arc DC and arc AB. So measure of angle 1 equals to measure of angle equals to, it is half of measure of arc 1 plus arc 2. Okay, so please notice that these angles are, angle 1 is inside the circle. Please see that this angle is inside the circle. So we are adding. You can say that interior of the circle or else it is inside the circle. So we are adding the length of arcs. Now let's look at the other theorem. Well, the next theorem is there are three cases. Already I discussed in my previous classes that if a line segment is intersecting the given circle at 2 points, we call that one as a secant. Okay, so secant. So this is the secant. If the line segment is touching at 1 point, then that is tangent. So let it be secant or tangent. or the combination. Still, yeah, just a minute. Let me take that. This is the tangent. You see that it is touching at one point. So you take either two tangents, two secants, or one tangent, one secant. Please notice that still the rule remains the same. Okay, so the measure of external angle, let it be angle 1, angle 2, or angle 3. In all these three cases, notice that the angle is formed outside the circle, right? Therefore, measure of angle equals to then half of you take the usually the one which is outside, that is the longer arc, that is arc 1, take away or subtract the inner arc or the smaller arc. I would say that long arc and small arc. That makes sense, right? So arc 1, arc 2, or maybe you may consider that long arc, you may say that long arc and short arc. This is the second theorem. So please remember, if the angle formed inside the circle or in the interior, so here in this case I see that the angle formed inside or in the interior of the circle, then we are adding the length of the associated arcs. In the next case, if the angle formed outside the circle, then we are subtracting. Please notice that we are subtracting, that is the short arc is taken away. The value of the short arc is subtracted from the value of the long arc. This is the second comparison. So the next theorem is, let me increase the size a little. This one is, you see that two tangents are drawn, and here the tangents are intersecting on one point and an angle is made, and here is the central angle formed by the radii. Okay, and here angle ACB, so the angle formed by tangents, which is angle D, and the angle formed at the center by the radii, that is ACB, these two together equals to 180 degrees. Okay, one more important point to be noted, that suppose if a tangent is given and a radius is given, this is one of the most important points because please remember that the angle between the tangent and the radius is always 90 degrees. This is always 90 degrees. Okay, so let's jump and solve some problems. Okay, so a couple of examples are taken, but how to solve this one means, apologies. Okay, so how to solve this one means, oops, it is not completely copied. That's fine. Okay, so here measure of angle equals to half the measure of arc. This is the point we take it. While solving. Okay, so then how to solve these two problems means, let me start with this one, measure of angle. So here I don't know what is the angle between the chord and the tangent. So angle 1 equals to half the measure of the arc. So you see that the measure of arc is given as 130 degrees. Therefore, the half of 130 degrees, that gives you 65 degrees. So the measure of angle 1 equals to 65. So you have to identify whether the measure of arc is given or measure of angle is given, and you have to input the correct values. So here it is 130, it goes to the place of arc. Okay, suppose if I have to use the same formula in the next question. Okay, so in the next question, it could be slightly different. Why is this different means, please notice that 125 degrees are given here, 125 degrees, right? So this is the angle, this is not the length of arc, right? Therefore, does it go here? The answer is no. And if you want, feel free to draw this kind of arc so that you can avoid a lot of confusion. So it is 125 degrees. So 125 degrees equals to half the measure of arc. So what is the arc means? What is the arc means? Here is the arc, which is 125. Here onwards, it's a simple algebra, times 2, then times 2, then you get that it is 250 degrees. That's the measure of oops, I'm sorry, here I made a small mistake. The arc, just I copied as 125. It is not. Here, that's the arc is KJL. It is KJL. My bad. I copied 125 there. I'm sorry for that. So measure of arc KJL equals to 250. Therefore, 250. Even quickly you can compare. Is the length of arc, is it double the angle or not? As simple as that. That's it. Okay. And I know that if this one is 65 degrees and if I plug in here, then 130, is it double 65 degrees or not? Done. As simple as that. Okay. Any questions on this? If you have questions, please email. So let's go to the next question. Okay, you are given this question and you are asked to figure out what is the value of x. Okay, so let me take my condition. Oops, I'm sorry. My apologies. Yeah. So let me take the condition that measure of angle equals to half the measure of arc. Therefore, let me identify the right things here. Here, I know that this is the angle. So this value should go here. Okay. And I know that this is the length of arc. Therefore, this value should be plugged in here. So once when you can identify, don't hesitate to draw these kind of lines, it's fine. So measure of angle, what is given means, you see that it is given as 7x minus 10. So 7x minus 10 equals to half of what is the measure of the angle means, it is given as 120. So half of 120, that gives you 60. And here onwards again, a simple algebra. We go for inverse operation. Then we get that here 7x equals to 60 plus 10, 70. You know how to eliminate the constant. We go again by inverse operation. 70 divided by 7, that gives me 10 degrees. So here, basically, one thing you have to remember, one thing, that if you can remember the formula, easily you can solve it. Easily you can solve this one. And just you have to think which value goes where. That's it. Okay. Questions on this? Okay. So this is the next question, and you are asked to find the value of x. Again, my advice is you identify the angle, and if possible, take a crayon or something, and you may shade that this is the arc which is associated x degrees and the opposite one. So if you do this way, you can avoid a lot of mistakes. Okay. And now I notice that this is given 145 degrees, 145 degrees, and this one is given as 85 degrees. Okay, please remember that when you are asked to find the measure of the internal angle, then this is the condition we take. Internal means we take the formula measure of angle equals to. So again, as I mentioned before, you have to be really careful, and which value where it goes, that's what you have to see. So measure of angle is here x degrees equal to, and the remaining values. So one arc which is 145 that goes here, and the second arc value which is 85 that goes here. So arc 2, you can flip them. You can take arc 1 as 85, arc 2 as 145, it doesn't matter. Okay, so you have to be little careful while writing and make sure that you are writing the angles and arc values in the correct manner. So arc 1, I see that this is 145 and the other one is 85. Even if you flip around, just it doesn't matter. Now 145 and 85. So 140, 80, that gives me 220 and 10, 230. So half of 230 degrees equals to 115. That's the measure of x, or the central angle. So again, as I mentioned before, please remember that if you can memorize the condition or the rule, then it's going to be very easy. It's going to be super easy for you to solve the problems. But the only thing is you have to remember the rule. Okay. Let's go to the next question. Oh, it seems the same, but it is not, because this time you are asked to find the value of x. Slightly this is different, so I have to see which arcs are associated. Oh my gosh, these angles, these values are not given. What to do? So what we do is, let me assume that there is some a. There is a here, okay, and can I find the value of a? Means the answer is yes, because I know that here is 145 degrees and here is 85 degrees. So easily I can figure out what's the value of a, right? So let's do one thing. Let's find the value of a first, then we'll think of finding the value of x. So really you have to be careful when you are taking a test. You know that we go with the condition, that is measure of angle. Now let's temporarily, let me assume that measure of angle a I'm computing, not the value of x. Okay, so this goes here. So measure of angle A equals to half the measure of arc 1. As I told you before, you can take either 85 or 145. So please remember, I'm not computing for x at this point. This is 85, and my second arc value, which is 145. Already we computed the same thing in the previous one. Half of 230, that gives me 115. So the value of, but the sum is not over, because the question is that find the value of x here. So the question is find the value of x. Okay, so again I'm repeating, our goal is to compute the value of x, but not the value of a, right? Therefore, how to compute this one means, what is the relation between a and x? do you see that this is a straight line or not? Is this a straight line or not? So remember, straight line makes my bad. Let me take that color. Okay, I hope you remember that straight line makes 180 degrees. Straight line makes 180 degrees. Agreed? Therefore, let me write that straight line makes 180 degrees. Therefore, angle A plus angle X equals to 180. And just now I computed value of A, which is 115, plus X is 180. Take away 115, then you get that the value of X equals to 65 degrees. Done. Questions on this? Yeah. This is a pretty easy question that I hope you remember that the central angle equal to and inscribed, sorry, these two are not equal, inscribed angle. What is the relation means? Half of central angle equals to inscribed angle, which means this is the central angle, so that goes here, okay, and this is the inscribed angle which is on the circle, so that value goes here. Therefore, I take that 49 here, and half of I don't know central angle value, so half of X equals to 49. And again here simple algebra, you know how to eliminate this fraction. So times 2, so 2 times 49, 98. So the central angle value is this one. So the simple logic to remember is half of central angle equals to inscribed angle. So let me jump to the next question. Okay, another example is, in the given figure, find the value of y. Very important thing is, this is the tangent. What is tangent means? A line segment that touches the given circle at a point, at one point. Okay? And this is the radius. You can call it as radius or diameter. So from the center to this one. The most important thing is the angle between the tangent and radius is always 90 degrees. I repeat, the angle between radius and tangent is always 90 degrees. Now you are asked to find the value of y. It's pretty easy now, because you know that one angle is 32 and second angle is 90 degrees. And what is the third angle of the triangle? You know that sum of three angles of a triangle equals to 180. So starting with the point number 1, radius is perpendicular. This is the symbol of perpendicular to tangent, which means the value of k or L, kj or jkl, this is equals to 90 degrees. Now, I see that there is a triangle. Observe carefully that there is a triangle. What is the sum of three angles of a triangle? Come on, you know that it is 180 degrees, right? Therefore, let me take that sum. This is the next point. Sum of three angles of a triangle. Is 180 degrees. Therefore, angle J plus angle K plus angle L equals to 180. It is 32 degrees. K is 90 degrees plus L, I'll say Y, I don't know. So 32 plus 90, 122, 1. Okay, now you know how to isolate the value of y. We go for inverse operation, then it is 58. Any questions on this? Okay, one more question. This seems to be a little tough. We'll attempt this at the end. This is the other question. So, what is the condition means? First of all, the question is you are asked to find what is the measure of the arc. What is the measure of the arc, right? And I know that this arc is related to this angle. This arc is related to this angle, right? Therefore, I have to figure out what is the value of Q first. And I know that the rule is measure of angle equals to half the measure of arc. So I should know at least one of them. Do I know what is the angle Q here? If I knew the value, then I can plug in here. And do I know what is the value of the arc? If I knew the value of arc, then this I can plug in here, right? So I don't know either of these two values, but look at the given figure carefully. I see that there is a triangle. So you can find the third angle of a triangle easily. So let me compute the third angle of the triangle. So sum of three angles of a triangle equals to 180. Therefore, angle P plus Q plus R equals to 180 degrees. Angle P is 36. Angle Q, I don't know. Angle R equals to 48 degrees. Then this is equals to 180. Let me sum up these two. 70 plus 14, 84 plus angle Q is 180. Now take away 84. You know how to isolate. I need not explain again and again. So angle Q equals to 96. But this is not the end of the story, because we know that we have to compute the measure of the arc, right? So let me move these calculations a little here. Yeah, no problem. So here I got the measure of angle Q equals to 96, right? So this value I'm taking from the measure of angle I'm taking from here, so that here 96 degrees equals to half the measure of arc. So what is the arc here? It is PR or PX or whatever it may be. So here times 2 times 2, so that half will be cancelled. The length of arc is 192. My bad. I think while designing the question, uh, please remember the diagram is not to scale, because if it is more than 192 means it should be more than a semicircle. But I see that this one is less than a semicircle. Okay, I'm sorry, because just while designing I did not think of that. I'm sorry for that. Well, one more question. This is the last one, but if you look at this diagram, really it is scary. But if I were you, I make this one into, because there are three questions. I don't know whether you noticed it or not. Here there are three questions. Okay, so if I were you, my method of doing is I solve one at a time. So I don't take the remaining things. I don't take the remaining things into consideration. Now I see only one question, right? So this is how I take the question. This is how I take the question. So let me copy this. Okay, guys. So let me delete the z part, all these unnecessary values, and let me focus one at a time. And say that you are asked to find the value of x. You are asked to find the value of x. And this is the external, that means the angle formed outside the circle, right? Therefore, if it is outside, I remember that it is of the measure of arc 1. Please remember, outside means you have to take away or subtract, then arc 2. So angle is this goes here, which is x equals to of the measure of you have to take long arc, otherwise you cannot subtract. Therefore long arc value goes here, which is 82, subtract, then take the small arc value. I'm messing it up, I'm sorry. Okay, so here then 31 goes here. Okay, now the value of x equals to half of 82, take away 31, so you'll get 51. So the value of x equals to half of 51 is 25 and half at 25.5 degrees. So if you take the entire question, really that is a little confusing, but if you split it into bits and pieces, then it becomes easy. Now I'm done with my x, therefore this time I want to focus on y. Okay, so that time let me not bother about the rest of the things. So if I want to solve for y, this part, please notice that all these things are to be. Oh, this is so simple. Do you remember, if you are given this kind of question? So here, let me take that measure of angle equals to half the measure of arc. So if you are given the question this way, you separate and you split it and do it. Half the measure of arc means, guys, do you see that there are two values, 31 and 38? So that makes 69 degrees. Does it make sense? 69. So half of 69, compute using your calculator, that's the value of y. Okay, now the last part, so we found x, we found y, and this time z. So when you are focused, don't take the entire diagram. Again, I'm repeating, don't take the entire diagram. So if you take it, then it becomes really difficult. So if you are given this kind of questions, you may separate them. You may separate them this way and compute, or else you may draw separately three figures, how I am doing. Wow, this is pretty easy. This is pretty easy. I see that angle Z is inside, right? Therefore, I hope you remember that angle, if it is inside, that is half the measure of arc 1 plus measure of arc 2, then Z equals to measure of arc 1 means while adding, you can take in any order, then these are the values arc 1 and arc 2, which is 82 and 38. So just sum up, Z equals to half of 80 plus 30, 110, 120. Wow. So measure of Z equals to 60. So the point is, if you are taking the entire diagram this way, really it looks so scary. But if you make this one into bits and pieces, what happens is it becomes pretty easy for you. Again, I'm repeating, if it is the whole diagram, yes, it is really difficult. But if you take this way, it's easy. Okay.